All right, welcome back to ABA Exam Review and the continuation of our BCBA practice question series, where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass the exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. You're providing parent coaching to help encourage social interaction for one of your clients. You've collected baseline data over several days, and after a few days of decreasing data, the data have now stabilized. You're just about ready to start intervention. How would you describe the data relative to steady state responding? So, the key to this question is steady state responding because the question is relatively straightforward. We're looking at the data and how are we going to describe it? And we want to know how we're going to describe it in terms of steady state responding. Now, what is steady state responding? Steady state responding occurs when the data you're collecting stabilize, more or less. And so typically we think of steady state responding during baseline because in baseline, we're hoping for a steady state. We're hoping for stable data so that when we introduce an intervention, we can clearly see change. In this case, your parent coaching wants to encourage social interaction for a client. You've collected your baseline data, and after a few days of decreasing data, the data are now stabilized. So this is great, right? Your data are in a steady state. So how are we going to describe this data relative to that steady state responding? A, the data indicate that you should not begin your intervention at this time. Well, of course not. Steady state is typically a good thing in baseline, especially here. You had decreasing data, but now it's stable. You're ready to start. Nothing wrong with that. The data do indicate that you should begin intervention. B, the data indicates the behavior has started to consistently occur during the periods of data collection. Read that carefully, right? The data indicate the behavior has started to consistently occur, which is true. It's now the behavior is consistent during the periods of data collection. This is saying we now have consistent data, and that is true. C, the data indicate that no intervention is needed for this target behavior. That's not what it indicates at all. If there's a trend in baseline, right, either decreasing or increasing, that can indicate the need or not need for intervention, but that is not the case here. The data is stable. And then D, the data indicate that the client has mastered this target behavior already. Again, if there's a trend, increasing or decreasing, that could indicate one way or another the current skill level or the need for an intervention. That's not what we're dealing with here. We've got a steady state of responding, so the data indicate behavior started to consistently occur during the periods of data collection. I am doing an interval training program that requires intense movement in short bursts. I must do 10 reps using weights before I get a 20-second reinforcement break. Immediately, I must jog in place for 1 minute before I get my next 20-second break. What type of schedule does this resemble? So we've got a reinforcement schedule question, and you need to know compound schedules. Compound schedules are simply simple schedules combined. Very straightforward, right? And so you really want to know those 7 compound schedules pretty well. Now, I always recommend that if you have other things you're trying to learn, save compound schedules for last. I don't think they're overly difficult. I just don't think they're intuitive. So let's not spend a lot of time on these until we're really good at everything else if we're not comfortable. That said, let's break this question down. We have an interval program. You first must do 10 reps using weights, and then you get a break. So let's call that a FR 10. You then must jog in place for 1 minute before your next 20-second break. Let's call that a FI 1. And so we have 2 different behaviors, right, on these 2 different schedules, and they're going back and forth. What type of schedule does that resemble? A, concurrent. Now, with the concurrent, we've got 2 schedules running simultaneously, which represents choice. Now, what's happening here? Once you finish one schedule, the next schedule comes into play. So is it B, chained? Well, it's not chained either, because chained signals some schedules back to back, which must be completed in a certain order to reach this terminal behavior. That's not necessarily the case here, right? You're getting reinforcement after each schedule. It's not like you have to engage in several different responses in a row for reinforcement. Once you do the weight, you get reinforcement, and then the next schedule comes into play. So what it most resembles is going to be a multiple schedule Well, you have these two or more behaviors, two or more schedules, and they're coming in sometimes randomly, but in a sequencing fashion, right? And then what is alternative? Alternative is when you have a variable schedule and a ratio schedule, and you must complete either one of those. So you can complete the variable schedule or you can complete the ratio schedule to earn the reinforcement. Again, that's not what's happening here. We have discrete schedules for the weights. We have a discrete schedule for the jogging. Each one produces reinforcement. They're alternate, or they're going back and forth, right? They're changing. Once you complete one, you go into the other one. So the type of schedule this resembles is going to be C multiple. Again, it can get a little confusing, right, when you start to talk about it out loud. So if you're not comfortable with compound schedules, it's okay to save those for last. Make sure we're focusing on these other things because we want to be fluent in everything. You receive an email that says survey respondents needed. You open the email and read, we invite you to participate in this survey to further research in the autism community. Upon completion of the survey, you will earn a $10 Amazon gift card. Are you interested? The email is doing what? So we want to figure out what is the email doing in the context of behavior analysis. And this is why we never jump to the answer choices, because you really have to think about the question and what the information given to answer the question. So looking at the email says they need survey respondents. You open the email, it says you can participate in this survey. And then upon completion, you're going to earn a $10 Amazon gift card. So what does that sound like? To me, it sounds like if you complete, then you get the gift card. First you complete, then you get the gift card. So when we talk in terms of if-then statements and first-then statements, we're talking about contingencies. So what is the email doing? Well, the email is doing A. It's establishing this contingency. If you complete the survey, then you get the gift card. If you don't complete the survey, you don't get the gift card. So how is that different than setting up a bribe? Well, because a bribe is almost the opposite of a contingency. With the bribe, you earn the consequence first, and then you're asked to engage in the behavior. So if the email gave you $10 and then said, now you complete the survey, that's a bribe. You've already earned the gift card. There are no response requirements left. A contingency is when there's a response requirement to earn the consequence. What about offering negative reinforcement? If anything, they're giving you positive reinforcement through the gift card. And then utilizing automaticity, just not what's happening here. Automaticity says you don't have to be aware of the reinforcement that's taking place for it to affect behavior. In this case, you know the consequence for the survey is the gift card. So what is the email doing? It's A, establishing a contingency. Which of the following is not true about an evocative effect in applied behavior analysis? When we talk about evocative effects, we're thinking in terms of motivating operations, right? We have establishing operations, abolishing operations, evocative effects, abative effects. And so when we're talking evocative, abative, motivating operations, what are we referring to? Well, we're referring to the effect it has on the current behavior. And with an evocative effect, it's going to evoke current behavior. So we're looking for something that is not true about these evocative effects. A, an evocative effect can evoke current behavior. Well, that's exactly what we just said. Notice if you go through the process of defining terms and breaking the question down, you're going to quickly start to predict answer choices. B, an evocative effect permanently changes behavior in the future. What permanently changes behavior in the future? Consequences. Evocative effects and memos are not consequences, they're antecedents. So B cannot be true. C, an evocative effect is typically associated with an establishing operation. This is true. Why is that true? Well, an establishing operation increases the value of a consequence, which typically leads to more behaviors to gain that consequence. So what is not true about an evocative effect is that it will permanently change behavior in the future. Consequences do that, not antecedents. Chloe wants to start a new curriculum that targets multiplication of two-digit numbers. She wants to start to increase the accuracy of her 15 students. She also doesn't want to observe the students the entire time they are working on their problems. What measurement should Chloe not use? We have another not question, and it's a measurement question. So in measurement questions, we have to think about what are we trying to measure? What's our goal? How are we going to reach that goal? Chloe wants to have this curriculum targeting multiplication. She wants to increase accuracy of 15 students, a large group, and she doesn't want to observe the students the entire time they are working. So that's going to really narrow it down. So what about A, a planned activity check, a play check? Well, play check would be fine. Got a group of students with a play check. She doesn't have to observe the entire time. She could possibly use this measurement. What about B, partial interval recording? Well, with partial interval recording, Chloe is going to have to observe each student the whole time. So that's not really going to work to help Chloe accomplish her goals. What about C, momentary time sampling? With momentary time sampling, again, it's similar to play check, except momentary time sampling focuses on one student. So even though Chloe couldn't do all of her students at once using a momentary time sampling, she could measure them individually, and she still wouldn't have to observe the students the entire time. So momentary time sampling is going to be better than the partial interval. And then, of course, D, permanent product. She wouldn't have to observe the students at all. She would just need to observe the outcome of their behavior. So the measurement Chloe should not use is B, partial interval recording. Pretty easy question. Sometimes the questions will be easy, even on the exam. It's okay. Just trust your prep, answer the question, move on. Thanks for watching. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. Please subscribe if you have not already for all of our updates, and it really helps us. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.